everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Shaving with Chief. I'm the Chief, and today I'm excited to bring you my first impressions of Gentleman's Nod's new release, Zaharoff. So this is an actual collaboration with the perfumer Zaharoff. So it's not a dupe, it's not an impression, it's an actual collaboration utilizing their signature scent. So the soap smells really, really good off the puck. It's a nice, strong, I would say probably 7, and it really does smell like really nice, really clean, very professional. It's really, really impressive. So I look forward to trying this soap today. I'm also going to be giving you my first impressions of the splash. The splash smells a little bit different, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the video. That being said, I've went ahead and loaded my That Darn Rob. So I'm going to go ahead and wet my face, and we'll get lathering, and we'll start talking a little bit about the soap. So Zaharoff was released in Gentleman's Nod's Cardinal base, which if you've gotten an opportunity to try Camp High, I believe that was their first kind of release in their new updated base. And if I'm being completely honest, it didn't blow me away. I know that the artisan made some small changes to the base, so I look forward to kind of getting that extra type of face feel and post-shave feel that they were talking about improving. So the base was really good, don't get me wrong, but at the time I wouldn't consider it elite, which is okay. I mean, it was still a really solid performing soap, and at the $20 mark, that's pretty acceptable. This soap itself was released in time for Father's Day, and it's kind of marketed as a really nice professional Father's Day scent that somebody could wear on date night or to the office. Or like if you like, I love Ross's video where he talks about owning the room, and honestly, like I completely agree 100%. This soap smells phenomenal. I think they did a really good job of identifying how they can put the scent into the soap and not really affect the initial impression, like due to the soap base interaction. It honestly smells like you're lathering with a high-end cologne, and it smells fantastic. It is a very sexy, masculine, clean scent with notes of Argarwood, patchouli, sandalwood, vetiver, cypress, and black pepper. There are a lot of other scent notes, and I'll plug those into the description for you to read. Being that it's a very complex cologne, I don't really have time to read all those scent notes. But just know that as someone who's highly critical of scents, this is a scent that I believe everyone would enjoy. It's just, and that's a big statement to say, like, hey, I think that no matter if you like, fresh, clean citruses, or aquatics, or dark smoky scents, like regardless of your preference, this is a beautiful, beautiful scent. From our initial impressions of the actual base itself, in true Gentleman's Nod's fashion, it lathers into a very good consistency. It's very kind of thick and creamy. It's not overly dense. I think they strike a good balance of kind of the luxurious kind of feeling and density. It kind of lathers similarly to what I would say Kairos does in a way. It doesn't feel overly dense, overly thirsty. But it's still very dense. It still feels very luxurious, but it's not over the top with like unneeded density or unneeded volume. Admittedly, when I saw this soap released, I was kind of skeptical. All right, so I mean, being that the artisan, chose to utilize such kind of high-end packaging and collaborate with a scent maker and release a very expensive product. This soap is $29, which is a full $9 over their typical base releases and $2 more than Camp High. So at first I was very skeptical, but for me personally, the scents really, the scent makes the soap. Okay, so like the base is very, very important, But without a good scent, you're not gonna enjoy the soap experience. At least I won't. So $29, even if it's a really good base, is it really gonna be worth it to you? That really depends on how important the scent is. There's some really stellar elite bases out there that you can get for close to half of that price. But if you are someone who really focuses and prioritizes scent, this would most definitely be worth it to you. It's a fantastic smelling soap. Now, I asked my girlfriend Kaylee what she thought about this scent, and she loves it too. In her opinion, this can be used in almost any situation. And I imagine myself, like if I wanted to go on like a job interview or really impress somebody with a good kind of scent, this is something that I would reach for. I think soaps and scents in this hobby, you know, this industry, are typically like a lot of fun. Like you'll find artisans that are putting out, you know, scents that smell like baseball fields, and you know, some that release, you know, like if you look at like Tempest, it's kind of like stormy, kind of it's based around like smelling like a storm or whatnot. So it's more like fun and interesting. This is just a very professional, mature, complex, well done scent. Something that you would wear to like meet your in-laws for the first time, you know? So. The right off the bat, and obviously I'll use the you know, my second lather to judge a little bit more, but the base doesn't seem that slick to me, if I'm being completely honest. While it gives a really good face feel and a nice density, I'm just not feeling that much slickness at all, which is kind of disappointing to me. It could have been the way that I lathered. You know, I tend to underhydrate my first pass. So before I kind of like really say my final thoughts on the slickness, I'll give it another go for my second pass. But as of right now, it's really not that slick. The scent strength even now is really strong, and trust me, that's a good thing. The only thing that I would be concerned about is maybe conflicting with, you know, whatever other colognes you want to wear. I almost feel like this soap kind of forces you into purchasing the EDT or EDP because it's so strong. You know, you really don't get much flexibility on what you can use with it. Which, if you don't use, you know, colognes naturally, you know, that's not really a factor. But for me, as someone who uses colognes every day, it is a factor. Now, at the end of the shave, I'm gonna be trying out the aftershaves as well, the matching splash. Something that I noticed out of the decanter was while the soap smelled really good, to me, the splash smelled like a cheap cologne. And I was actually talking to my buddy Jack at the Virtual Groomroom, trying to kind of nail, you know, why that was, because it didn't really make sense to me that the soap smelled so good on the puck. But the matching splash kind of smelled cheap to me, because I mean it's the same scent, right? And he brought up a really good point, and that's that the you know, the addition of that alcohol in that splash kind of gives it that cheap kind of cologne initial impression. So I'm assuming that on the dry down, as that alcohol kind of evaporates, that I should be left with a really good kind of scent. So what I'm going to be doing at the end of this video is I'm going to be utilizing the splash, and then I'm going to cut the video, and I'm going to come back 5 minutes later, and I'm going to tell y'all if that scent kind of did you know, dissipate, and whether or not it still kind of smelled like a cheap cologne. This soap lathers very, very well. I did a 25-second load. And for me, I'm all about ease of use. I've talked about water bans and whatnot in other videos, and I've had some artisans reach out to me and discuss that with me. And I will tell you that while some artisans may be designing soap specifically with a certain purpose, to maintain, to not require so much water, or to be thirstier or whatnot. I think that easeability of lather is overlooked. Instead of trying to design a soap with a certain kind of goal in mind to be used a certain way, I think it's important that artisans instead create soaps that can be used by the masses and are extremely flexible bases. While I didn't find this soap to be the slickest on the first pass, I will tell you that it does feel like a pretty, I would say, kind of nimble base, one that you don't have to, dial in specifically. It doesn't have to have a certain amount of water. It doesn't require, a X amount of load. It does feel very, very flexible to me, which is good. That easeability of lather is important, especially if you're somebody like me who is not jacked from the virtual groom room, you know what I'm saying? I need that flexibility. I can't be, utilizing a recipe and loading my puck for 3.9 seconds and then do, a 2.5 drop into the bowl before heating the soap to 69 degrees and lathering. Like, it needs to be flexible. So sorry to kind of go on that tangent. But I just think that that's kind of overlooked. So for this final pass, I'm going to do, across and then against the grain. So initially, it feels much slicker there. In true chief fashion, I most likely underhydrated my first pass. So hopefully it'll be a little bit smoother on the second pass. And while the soap doesn't look that dense on my face, it's plenty density. You don't need a huge voluminous lather to get a good shade. And yeah, it's much slicker. So my initial thoughts about its slickness, I think, weren't warranted. It really is much slicker. And again, I want to also kind of caveat this is a first impression, right? So to really review a soap, you should really use it consistently for a week, just like a brush. At least a week. Give it a good feel. This is my first experience with this soap and the updated cardinal base. So they had a cardinal base and they updated it again, which is this soap, with a couple minor tweaks to improve, the general performance. So don't take my word as like the end all be all. This is literally the first time it's touched my face. But do take my word on the scent. It is fantastic. And I don't have a picture of the packaging to show you right now, but the packaging is very impressive as well. One thing I will mention is Gentleman's Nod was kind of slow to ship. I ordered the splash from West Coast Shaving on the same day that I ordered the soap from Gentleman's Nod, just to kind of gauge it. And the splash came a full 2 days earlier than the soap. I'm guessing because Gentleman's Nod uses first class shipping, whereas I believe that West Coast Shaving used priority, and it did make a difference. They were a little bit slower. Is 2 days, does it matter? No. It's also free shipping for new products on West Coast Shipping, or West Coast Shaving, so. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video, and I'm gonna applied this splash here, and this is the bottle that it comes in. I'm gonna give you, come back in a couple minutes and give you my initial impressions. All right, y'all, so I'm back. So I applied the aftershave splash, and I was actually really impressed with the initial face feel. It has a slight astringent property because it is like, I believe it is, both alcohol and witch hazel. So it has a slight astringent property, but it doesn't, it's not overdone. I would say that the result of the way it kind of interacted with my skin in the post shave is very, very similar to like A&E Skin Food. So this was really well done. It also, the cheap cologne kind of scent did in fact die down. So now that the alcohol is kind of dissipated, I'm left with a really, really strong scent. It is as strong as cologne. So that might turn some people off, but I'll tell you, there's no possible way that you can use this soap in this splash and still use a cologne. It'll clash completely. If you do use a cologne, you're gonna have to use the Zaharoff cologne, but it smells really good nonetheless. So, I mean, to kind of conclude the video, Zaharoff signature, it's $29. Is it deserving? You know, that's really up to you. I mean, there's a lot of there's a couple other $30 plus soaps. If the scent is really, really important to you, I say pull the trigger. This is one of the best scents that I've ever smelled on a soap, and rightfully so. You know, it's a collaboration with a well-known perfumer. It smells incredible. So very, very good job. Very, very good scent. The performance was very, very good. Easy to use, easy to lather. Not overly dense. Good amount of slickness. I wouldn't classify it as elite in any sense. Just my personal thoughts. It is a really good base though. Like today we have so many bases, so many good bases out there that there's really not a base that you. I haven't really found a base that just is just terrible. This one is a really good base. The brush that I used was my That Darn Rob hybrid. Luckily for me, it matches the set perfectly. I'm pretty happy about that, so bonus points there. And for my razor that I used my Paradigm Diamondback, this time with a first use Polsilver Super Iridium. Really, really good shave today, really impressed. If scent is your thing, pull the trigger, you won't be disappointed. So thank you very much for tuning in. I'm the Chief, and y'all have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.